Good morning, YouTube. Oh, what a special day it is. I have slept fuck all because I stayed up reminiscing. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Camille. Lovely to meet you. A little bit of a strange introduction lying in bed, but it is a very, very special day today because it is the beginning of my first bodybuilding prep. I don't know if you can tell, the classic stash is not really coming in yet. I'm gonna have to wait a couple of weeks for that to grow in, but yeah, as you can see, I've just woken up, so excuse the bedhead. Plan of action for today is there is no plan. I'm just gonna take you through my morning routine, chat some shit, show you how I'm looking, probably show you the progress that I've made in the past couple months, and yeah, we're gonna go from there. So cue the montage. Right, downstairs now for my morning coffee. That was my morning routine. Did some face care stuff. Girlfriend's fit, so bodybuilding's not an excuse to be ugly. Write that down. But yeah, so I usually come down after that, have a morning coffee with a scoop of sugar, by the way. I know I'm starting prep, but Jack can have one of these. If it decides to fucking focus on my face. There she is. I'm in some technical difficulties. It's my first time around using the Digi. Anyways, supplements. So the current supplements that I'm running. In the morning, I am taking full dose of vitamin D, MK2, full dose of omegas, vitamin C and zinc, glute, and that's pretty much it. I did have an issue with me constantly getting ill recently, so we basically made a stack based around immune support, which has worked a treat. I haven't been ill for like 2-3 months, which is new for me. And then night time, I take another full dose of omegas and magnesium biglycinate, which we all know is really helpful for sleep. So that's pretty much that. And yeah, I usually take this time to kind of just chill out, plan out the day. Look at the weather, it's nice. Unfortunately today it's fucking pissing it down, so it's a bit pointless, but it is what it is. Yeah, very, very exciting day today. I'm going to check in with Unks. You can see how I'm looking. I was 208.7, which funnily enough is a £3 drop from yesterday. The body readies itself for prep. So yeah, we'll see what the visuals are saying and get the check-in from Big Man on what the plan is. But we did talk about it. I think food's going to remain the same, which is going to take refeeds out. So previous to this, I was in a 10-week push-up where we had 2 planned refeeds of 5.5k a week, and the rest was 4k on a training day and I believe 3.2 on a rest day. So the plan is just to take out refeeds, and we're probably just going to get into a deficit from that. Yeah, we'll see what Unc says, and we'll take it from there. mobility work has been completed. Only takes me about 10 to 15 minutes, but really is a game changer when it comes to posing. If you want a free mobility routine, hit me up, because I'll get one tailored to specifically what you need. But anyways, let us see what we are looking like. Alright, check-in with Unks is done. So as we wait for him to send a response and send what the plan is for the next week, I obviously forgot to stock up on food. So I've got to do a little food trip to get some bagels so I can actually get my meals in today. So yeah. Right, so food has been bought. In classic Kamal fashion, always forgetting food in the mornings. It feels like it's part of my morning routine now. Anyway, so check-in from Unks has been done, and as I said, refeeds I've gone from being proactive to reactive. So instead of having 2 planned refeeds every single week, we're kind of just going to take it, see how it is, and when I actually do need a refeed, that's when I'm going to take one in. So food stays at 4,000 calories on a training day and 3.2 on a rest day. So meal 1 today is going to be 3 bagels, 6 bits of bacon medallions, and 1 apple. So yeah, I'm going to chef that up and then crack on with some work and talk to the clients this morning, see how they're doing. Right, back in the office now. This is where the magic happens. It's nothing special, just got a whiteboard with everything that I need to do for the day. Obviously got a little setup with my MacBook, my monitor, and yeah. All my clients have been replied to, everyone's doing really, really well. I've got a couple of people doing rehab, and a lot of people doing physique at the moment as well. So I want to take this opportunity to talk about kind of what I do. So I'm an online coach, but I kind of do 3 specific or 3 different sort of avenues of coaching. One of them is normal physique coaching. The second one is rehab coaching for people who are injured. And the third is more so education, which is done via our educational platform and one-to-one sort of education with any specific clients that want to do that. So if you are interested in learning about rehab, getting rehab, or getting coached by myself, click the link in the bio. Anyway, shameless plug out of the way. I wanted to talk about my progress so far in the gym. So I have a couple notes next to me to talk through the past sort of 6 years that I've been training in the gym. So I started training in the lockdown going into 2021. Because it was lockdown, obviously we didn't have access to gyms. So one of my mates at the time was very, very kind and offered up his garage in order for us to train at. Now you can imagine this wasn't the most optimal environment. I mean, the only thing we had in there was a bench, a barbell, and some dusty plates. And me and my mate used to go in there with a massive fuck off speaker, blast music, and just train to our heart's intent. I think this was a very pivotal point in me actually becoming a bodybuilder, because it really outlined why I loved doing this. And that's because I loved training. Going in there, we didn't care about the most optimal exercise or the most optimal split or volume or what frequency, whatever it is. We just went in there, put a bunch of music on, and just trained really, really, really hard. And I'll put up some clips or some videos, hopefully, so that you guys can see. But yeah, my physique responded really fucking quickly. I think I started about 65, 67 kilos. And I got up to 80 kilos within the matter of, I want to say, 4 to 5 months.
I want to say I was perma-bulking at this point. There was no concept of tracking, you know, calories in, calories out. There was nothing like that. I was literally force feeding myself. At this point, I was doing like 1,500 calorie shakes, and literally just chugging them left, right, and center. Before I got into the gym, I was always naturally very lean. I was skinny, but I naturally had abs. So that gave me a nice foundation to kind of go in and eat to my heart's content. Because I was, quote unquote, I hate saying this, but a hard gainer back in the day, I could really eat a shit ton of food and kind of get away with it without putting on too much body fat. So you might see a trend in like the first couple of years of me training. I pretty much bulked for like the first 3.5 years. That sums up the first year. So training in a garage and just learning to love training. This was also my last year in sixth form, right before I went to uni. Now, second year of training, which was 2021 to 2022. First year of uni. This was not a productive year from a bodybuilding perspective. You can imagine, freshly 18-year-old Camille, just gone to uni, getting on the piss multiple times a week, not skipping meals. Like, it was not a good time for bodybuilder Camille. I must have lost, I don't even know, I don't even think I had scales at uni at that point. But I'll put some photos up, but I got really fucking skinny. And it got after the first semester in December, and I remember looking at my physique and I'm like, I am so unsatisfied with how I look. I have just been going out, getting pissed, doing dumb shit, and I lost that fulfillment that I once yearned for in bodybuilding. So that's when I finally started to pick things back up. And we went to Swansea University, and they had a gym on campus specifically. So we started training there. And I remember people coming up to me and being like, oh my God, are you on a diet? Like, are you in prep? All of this. And I was like, no, I'm bulking. Like, I just didn't bulk. In fact, I was going out drinking. And because of that, I got really fucking lean. Like fucking quad separation, chest striations, veins everywhere. Like really lean. Unintentionally, basically. But with that, I obviously lost a lot of muscle as well. So that pretty much sums up the second year. The second half of that year, I did pick things up slowly. But again, I was still in first year. I was in an environment that wasn't the best suited for myself, as well as mentally, I wasn't really in the right headspace to commit to the process I wanted. Like I said, still didn't have any concept of tracking calories or, you know, intensity, frequency, all this stuff. And well, I say that intensity was always nailed. But like frequency, you know, any sort of quote unquote optimal approach to my training was negligible. I literally just enjoyed going to the gym and getting a pump. Now, third year, which was second year of uni, 2022 to 2023. Now, I went from living in a student accommodation with 8 other people to then living in a 1-bedroom studio flat by myself. This was fucking fantastic for bodybuilding. I had my own little box where I had all this external noise from either my friends or uni or whatever it is. And I had an opportunity to just sit there, prep my meals. You know, the kitchen was always clean because, you know, I say clean enough for me to do what I had to do. You know, there wasn't random dishes when I come back after a night out in order for me to meal prep, right? So it did allow me to kind of start slowly prepping my meals and being a bit more meticulous with the process specifically. Still didn't have a concept of, you know, tracking calories, tracking macros, being on a meal plan, progressively increasing food on a bulk, etc., etc. I was meal prepping my meals, but had no idea what the portion sizes were. I'd probably just eyeball everything. This year, I did start to make some decent progress. I started training at JD Gyms, which is still a commercial gym, but it was a big step up from the campus gym that I was training at. And it did have access to some better pieces of kit, as well as a better environment with people who, you know, are like-minded individuals who also wanted to train hard. So this year, I would say, was the beginning of a productive sort of a phase for me. And the entirety of this year, I bulked. Probably not the best. Again, I didn't track anything. I was just basically force feeding myself. And then I'd go through periods where I'd just stop force feeding myself and I'd basically recomp. I'd drop a little weight, drop a little bit of fat by just not force feeding myself. And then I'd go back into force feeding myself. So I did technically do like a 3-4 year long bulk, but I had mini cuts, or my version of a mini cut at that stage, in between those phases. Now, for the fourth year, so third year of uni, which was 2023 to 2024, this was very much a filler year. Again, I moved back in with 3 other housemates into a 4-bedroom house. However, bodybuilding still very much remained a priority. I was still going out drinking, getting on the piss and stuff like that, but very much at a lesser scale compared to my first and second years. So it did allow me to make quite a bit of progress. I also think at this stage is when I actually hit 90 kilos body weight for the first time. So I think I started getting a little bit fluffy and a little bit round on the edges after obviously pretty much non-stop bulking for about 2 years straight without any sort of idea of macros and calories. Again, 4 years into the gym, I still didn't really track macros, still didn't really track calories. I didn't do any cardio. I was literally just going to the gym and just eating basically whatever I could. I did meal prep at this point, but again, I didn't know the ratios. I didn't know what I was putting in there. It used to just be chicken and rice or mince and rice. And most of the time I'd even have veg. I'm quite ashamed to say that, but that's basically what I was like, even 4 years into the gym. Now, year 5, which was my final year of uni, 2024 to 2025, this, ladies and gentlemen, was a pivotal year in my bodybuilding journey. That's when I signed on with Jack Unks, who is my current coach now. And we went into my first diet of my life. Yeah, 5 years into the gym, that's when I actually dieted for the first time. But yeah, so I believe it was a 16-week prep for a photo shoot, which maybe I'll see if I can get some photos up of that as well. But it was a fantastic experience. I definitely learnt the harder side of bodybuilding, being in a diet. It was my first time actually doing cardio. It was my first time actually tracking calories. I actually got weight scales and food scales for the first time. So I was tracking the portion sizes. And it was my first time actually seeing what it's like to be a bodybuilder. The initial rebound phase after that, I hated bodybuilding. Like, I wanted to be a powerlifter. I started SBD, so squat, bench, deadlift again. I just didn't want to do bodybuilding training. Like, I had such an adverse reaction to it that I just completely wanted to step away from the sport. Lord and behold, 8 weeks into that rebound haze, I got injured from deadlifting. And that actually brought me back into bodybuilding because I was like, look, I'm not built for powerlifting. Jack had a little pep talk with me being like, look, like, you have very good potential as a bodybuilder. You're running away from something that you know you want to do. Like, let's be honest with ourselves here. And that made me realize, okay, cool. I do think I want to be a bodybuilder. I think, like I said, I just had an adverse reaction because I just, the first 4 years of my training was very easy, very, very easy. No cardio, not tracking food, literally just going to the gym and eating. And in my 5th year, that's when the difficulty actually stepped up because suddenly, I had to track everything. I had to do all this cardio, steps, all of this. So it was a big learning curve for me, but I'm very glad I had that response because it made me realize, like, fuck, I do actually really, really enjoy this sport. I can't underline the importance of getting a coach. 4 years into the gym, 4 years, and I still had no fucking idea what I was doing. As soon as I got Jack, that first 6 months, my physique obviously completely transformed. I went from being like, I think I was like 92, 93 kilos, like very, very tubby, to I think the lowest I got in prep was 77 kilos and I was pretty fucking diced, which is really, really cool to see. But yeah, the second half of that year, so going into 2025, I then went into my first off season and I put on about 28 kilos in 8 months. So that was a very, very, very productive off season. And that takes me into year 6, which is my first year actually outside of uni working a full-time job. As you can see, I went to uni to study osteopathy specifically, which is basically very similar to physio or chiro, but more so manual therapy and hands-on treatment. Hence me going into rehab because I have a background knowledge of human anatomy and physiology and how the body works and injury specifically. So I still do work in clinic. I do 2 days part-time, but I also do the online coaching, which is basically my full-time job at this point, which is really, really cool. But yeah, so this is my first year working. And obviously now, my first prep, which is Yeah, really, really crazy to think. But this year has by far been the most productive year from a bodybuilding perspective. I think moving away from uni, living at home with my parents. I went to uni in Swansea and now I live in Glasgow, which is like a 6-7 hour drive. Very, very far away from my mates. And I hate to say this, but when me and my mates meet up, it's very much not productive for bodybuilding, let's put it that way. So although it was very tough adjusting to being so far away from everyone, it gave me an opportunity to really hone in and be like, okay, I am committing 100% to bodybuilding. Like, this is me now. And this year was when I started tracking everything, being really, really consistent. Obviously, Jack kept me to very, very high standards because he knew what I expected of myself, which obviously did very much help. But I mean, the results speak for itself. I'm now, this morning I was 94 kilos in much better condition. So I'm actually heavier now than when I started my last prep with the same condition or comparable condition to how I finished my last prep. So on paper, we put on about 10 to 15 kilos of tissue within a year, which is really, really cool to see. And I'm starting to really see the classic shape within my physique. Obviously the small waist, the lats and the legs specifically really coming in, which is really, really cool to see. It's really, really crazy to look back at this. 6 years in the gym specifically, and only in the 5th year was when shit actually started to get serious. But I'm very glad that it did, and I'm very glad that I got myself into this sport, as you can imagine, because it is my passion and ultimately it is also my job. But I forever thank God for giving me the opportunity to do this as a living and to live and breathe bodybuilding, which is really, really fucking cool to see. But yeah, wholesome moment. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap. Thank you very much for watching. I did also remember, I do fasted steps, which I forgot to record. But don't worry, I am actually a bodybuilder. I did 30 minutes in between me going to the shops and coming back and eating my first meal. Anyways, thank you everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, you know the gist. If you have any content ideas or anything that you want me to cover in the future, please let me know. I think a full day of eating is definitely on the cards. Probably a day in the life with me actually training is probably on the cards. And then every couple of weeks, we're probably going to do an update on the physique as well. I do have the JP's Anniversary Expo this weekend on a Saturday, which is really, really cool. I don't think I'll be recording that, although I'll see, maybe I will. But I'll be meeting the likes of like Samson Dowda, AJ, Keefe will be there. There's going to be a bunch of stands and it's obviously an expo. So that's going to be really, really cool. We've got the Archer Academy meetup coming up in mid-July as well. I definitely will be recording that, so stay tuned. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.